And we're back with another episode. We're recovering from our staff outing, burning the boats. Went to the city for a wild night out.
Last night was a movie, bro.
We made it out the group chat.
Yeah, we actually got Zane to hang out with us because we always ask him to hang out with us, but he never wants to.
Not true.
Kind of.
Don't gaslight me right now.
Kind of, right?
That's kind of true.
Let's all right, let's get one thing straight. Kyle wanted to end the night early.
Yeah.
Kyle was like, I'll call Farouk right now. We'll get an 8-ball. He's asleep on the train.
Yeah, I fell asleep on the train.
So that's like Kyle's move. Whenever we go to the city, we take the train back. And before we even like get out of the tunnel, he's out cold, like sleeping, head back.
I got to start just standing.
Well, you don't have to stay awake.
Well, I don't want to hear shit from you.
Zane goes to take a picture and then of you sleeping. The one you posted, it looks like I'm sleeping.
That's why I was like, this is perfect.
I was like, I wasn't even sleeping. But you can kind of tell if you really look because I was smiling. But
the narrative is like whatever I want for that picture. It's perfect.
Yeah. But Zane was like laughing as soon as you were sleeping. I was like, oh no, like this is normal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tired all the time.
Well, then you would wake up.
I have a long day.
You'd look around for like a little bit.
If someone saw you, they'd be like, oh my God, this guy's wasted. I'm like, no, he's just tired.
So tired.
But yeah, we
but
went.
My day, like that day starts at like 6 a.m.
No,
and
I
I'm
know.
like all over.
It's
like,
okay. It's
I've
okay.
hit every borough that day.
Props to you, man.
Yeah.
And you still went out and raged with us.
And I raged.
Borough bouncer.
Well, we didn't really rage. We went to a comedy show, but what'd you think? That was good, right?
That was really good.
We're into the New York comedy scene.
The last guy, I don't know his name. He was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of didn't really know what he was saying.
The last guy I thought was terrible. I totally spaced out.
Yeah,
I didn't listen
too.
to anything you said.
Me too. First two guys were really funny.
Oh,
amazing.
The guy that we liked, I started following him on Instagram. And
Did he follow you back?
Yeah, and then I DM'd him, was like, oh, saw you last night. You were hilarious. I was crying. And he was like, thanks. Next time, please punch me in the face. I was like, will do.
We should have him on the podcast.
I know.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Or even what's his face? The other one. I forgot his name.
Corporate Rashad?
Oh, you'd love him. The other brown guy. I forgot his name.
The only
I was like, that's my cousin.
Yeah, right. That's your cousin.
I'm trying to figure out. I feel bad.
But you don't like him though.
He's all right.
You said he was.
I feel like you have a
boy.
weird thing, like if you see a brown person, you're always like, ugh, like.
Yeah, because I'm the token brown. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's a weird thing.
It is, but that's just how it was growing up.
Do you think that's because you didn't grow up around a lot of brown people?
I think it's because of that, and like
you didn't want to be like
me. Like so at Sarah's, it was always like me and the other brown kid Harry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like our coach Jason would always like pit us against each other. So like I've just kind of like been like groomed to like hate other brown people.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like sometimes people when they're like, it's like the same in jiu-jitsu. If you're like the minority or not just jiu-jitsu in general, you tend to see like they don't like someone else, they get jealous. Like that's kind of how like
if there was like another gay guy in jiu-jitsu, like maybe they would beef.
Oh my god! Well, it's like you see it with girls all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That
Exactly.
was my thing. Like, if there's a gym and there's one girl, it's different if the gym has like 10 girls already. But if they have one or two girls and a new girl comes in,
They'd be like, she's a slut.
no, she's such a slut. Yeah, she just wants to hook up. Her last gym, she hooked up with the trainer. Okay, so did you. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny. I think that sometimes you get a little.
Every time I see another brown guy doing jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I gotta set the pecking order right now.
You gotta go snap his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take him out of training for a little bit.
So the one comedian was brown, and then we were laughing. You're like, yeah, he's all right.
I was hot girling him.
You definitely were.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, no, he was.
He was
good.
actually pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was tough for you to admit that.
It was the guy who
Yeah.
does Andrew Schultz's podcast with him.
Yeah, he was.
What's his name?
Akash.
Akash.
Yeah.
I thought he was funny.
He's like Aziz, but different.
No, he's better.
You think so?
In my opinion, Aziz is more like Jimmy Fallon, like Nate late night comedy.
Yes.
It feels
Okay.
like.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like it was really funny because the one guy was on the Tonight Show,
Mm-hmm.
and they introduced him. He was like fresh off his appearance on the Tonight Show, and the guy came out. He's like, "You work your whole life for that." He's like, "How many of you saw me on there?" And no one said anything. He's like, "Exactly." He's like, "No one watched that stupid show."
He's like, I worked so hard to have that on my resume. He goes, And then I realized I did it, and I realized I could just lie and say I did it because no one's watching it.
No one's watching Jimmy Fallon. It's
Yeah.
like, unless you fall asleep and you don't know how to change the channel or something.
Yeah. Like even I feel for us, we understand that it was big. It's not as big anymore. But like for you, Zane, because you're younger than us, like you don't even understand that, right? Like,
No, I know what that is. I was
you know
big
what
on
it
Late
is,
Show.
but you're like, no one in your mind, you're thinking like, no one watches.
I used to watch Conan every night.
Really?
I love Conan. Yeah.
Really?
Conan's
I would
my
have thought
favorite.
you would have been too like kind of younger, where you're like, no one's watching that.
Did you guys watch the Colbert Show or like?
No.
No.
Oh no.
Fuck that guy.
I never really watched
Yeah,
any.
no,
Like
no, yeah.
I never really
You're
watched
such
any.
a liberal.
What do you mean?
I mean,
This is before This is before everything. Before.
you're too left for us.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm
He's just-
centrist.
He's just a college kid.
Yeah, he really is.
Let me have my beliefs.
Anyway,
That's all right. But yeah, it was a fun night. Made it out the group chat.
We went to first. We do a little. Zane's like us, like is a foodie.
Yeah.
So we did we got we got into the city, got a slice of pizza, 2 for you guys, and then went to the show, and then we went and got burgers after,
Yeah.
fire, and then we got gelato,
Oh yeah.
and then we called it a night.
Gelato was so good.
It's so good.
probably the best I've ever had.
It's not even
Fire.
like regular
Fuck,
gelato.
bro.
That's why I told you about it, and I was like, it's a gelato, but it's not like regular gelato. It's like its own thing. It's like a hype, because it's a little bit between ice cream and gelato.
it's so good.
It's its own thing. The flavors are so good. White chocolate pretzel
Fire.
slaps.
But yeah, it was a fun night.
So that was Zane's one outing a year with us. His obligation. He was like probably telling his friends like, "Oh, I gotta go out.
It's a work thing.
Yeah,
I gotta go out. I have a work
I
thing."
told
I
my
have to go to."
grandma, I was like, "Oh, I just got back from a meeting."
Oh yeah, that's what you were saying. You're like, so we got home. It was like, what, like midnight, 12:30, and you said you were gonna tell your grandma you were at work.
Yeah, she was up. She was like, "Where have you been?" I was like, "Oh, late night at the office,
She thinks you work in an office.
Yeah. She asked me, she's like, "Can you take these papers to shred at your office?" I'm like, "I don't know if we have one. I'll have to ask my boss if that's okay."
She thinks you're just in an office all day working.
That's what she thinks.
Because you do computers.
Yeah, she's like, "Did you sleep at the office last night?" I'm like, "Yeah, grandma, we got like some bunk beds."
Oh my god, that is crazy. I like during like Ramadan. Is that how it is?
Yeah.
When they break their fast and you're like, I'm full, I ate Chipotle today, but you gotta like pretend like you're hungry.
I just don't get up. I'm just like, "Oh man, I'll do it. I'll eat next time. Next one."
Next, I'll eat in 2 days.
Yeah.
It's fine. That's crazy. Secret Life of Zane.
Super funny. So big UFC fight, obviously UFC card. It's just crazy how, like, when John Jones is fighting, it's a different vibe. Like when Conor McGregor comes, it's like everyone's talking about it. Like people who don't really watch fighting, it's like,
Yeah.
it's very popular, and
It's like the Super Bowl.
it's a big deal when Conor's fighting. But when John Jones came back, I felt like it was like a different vibe. It was more like you're waiting to watch greatness. It's like how people
Yeah.
felt like when Floyd Mayweather fought,
Mm-hmm.
or like when Michael Jordan played basketball, all, the very greatest of great. And then people are excited to see that greatness. And we'll talk about all the fights, but it's a special event when he was fighting. It felt different, like the days leading up to it and everything.
For sure. Up until the week of the fight, I was thinking, I'm like, man, for a John Jones card, I feel like they're not really promoting it as much. But then the week comes. I think now with UFC, there's just so many cards that they can only focus on it week by week, So, because like the 2 weeks before there was cards, but as soon as the fight week came around, it was promoted pretty heavily.
Yeah, definitely. But this whole fight card was like amazing. Like when I was taking notes to
Mhm.
discuss the fights I want to talk about, like you could talk about every fight. There wasn't one fight that I was kind of like not really into.
Yeah, we watched the fight.
We watched every one.
Fights start at 5:30 p.m. We watched every single fight.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. But I picked a few on the undercard to talk about. The first one was Blackshear and Basharat. Basharat is he's an Afghani fighter who trains with Jake Shields. His brother had just fought a couple weeks ago. We watched that fight too. But that was
So-
such a high level fight. They were both so skilled.
I feel like that should have got fight of the night too.
It was such a good fight. They were both like really great creative striking, all different like kicks and spinning attacks and knees, elbows. But then there was a ton of high level grappling. Like even at the end, Blackshear was kind of down on that round, and then he threw up a super slick triangle.
Yeah.
And just about finished it, but almost broke him with the armbar. But that was a sick fight.
I think when we were watching it, you even said you're like, this is the definition of MMA.
Yes, yeah. If you wanted to describe like, oh, what is MMA? This is MMA.
They did everything.
They did everything you could do.
Everything equally and like as high level as possible. That was like
Submission off his back.
Yeah.
Like,
That was like just so like the scrambles. They both matched each other really well. Yeah, I don't know. That fight was super entertaining. Like I would like to watch that fight again. It was really good.
But
so high level.
They're both really good. Again, it's bantamweight. It's crazy how many good guys are in bantamweight. But that Blackshear, I mean, he lost, but he's really good too.
Yeah.
He's gonna do good. Both those guys, kind of like, you know, I haven't seen either of them fight before that, but super impressed with both of them.
Yeah, the loss for him still raised his stock a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Then the next fight was your girls, Viviana Araujo.
Oh, yeah.
And
Amanda Ribas.
Ribas.
That was great.
Amanda Ribas looked amazing.
Yeah. I thought
Her
she
striking looked amazing. Her grappling looked amazing.
She looks like strong, aggressive.
She looked great.
Yeah. I thought her grappling looked really good.
Really good.
Because Viviani, I think, is a black belt in jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah.
I think she's probably just not as good off her back, and she was on her back a lot. Well, the second round she got rocked, and then
Yep.
that was
Almost finished.
Yeah. I mean, she gets Viviani, I think, is like really good and it's hard, but I think sometimes she gets tired, and she definitely like gets like rocked a lot in fights, like her Andrea Lee.
Yeah.
That fight.
Yeah.
She was able to come back from that. That happened in the beginning, but because you don't really see that happen a lot in the girls' fights.
Yeah, but Amanda Ribas, I said this, she's not really ranked, I don't think, necessarily, but she is always fighting big names and big, hard opponents. Like she fought Mackenzie Dern. She beat Mackenzie Dern. Then she fought Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Lost to Marina Rodriguez. Then she fought you. Then Vivian. Like she hasn't had really any easy fights.
No.
I think, and she's still pretty young. I think that she's going to kind of
like improve and keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I think Viviani was ranked like, she was in the top 10, maybe like 7
Yeah.
or something, and she beat her, so she'll probably take that. She'll probably be there like 7.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, she'll be about.
Which I think is definitely fair. I think for anyone in the top 10, you know, she's giving a, you know, definitely competitive fight.
Especially because she could take people down.
Mhm.
Like even if they matched her, even with like Mana Farrow or something.
Yeah.
Next, like that, she would give her a hard fight.
Right. And I think that you know, she's not scared. She's strong. She filled out for 125. She's strong. And even for her fights, which is good for her, is like, even if she does lose, she's still entertaining.
Yeah, she did great. That was a fun fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Ian Garry versus Song. Ian Garry is he's from Ireland.
Oh yeah.
And he got rocked and was just about finished in the first round. And then he survived. Then the next 2 rounds, he started really picking it up. But his striking looked amazing. Like he did that like combination, then pull back, and then the guy, you know.
Yeah, he would do like a 1-2 pull and then counter.
Like
he did that. That was,
Mayweather.
I would say, that was his like main thing.
Yeah.
You know, anytime he was off the cage, and they like every round when they would show the highlights of the round, it would be one of those. I think that was really good.
Yeah,
that's pretty high level boxing to be able to do that in MMA, because pulling back, like I like doing that in boxing, but pulling back, it leaves you open for takedowns, so you got to come back quick.
Yeah.
But he had the people shelled up pretty.
Yes, his finish was like a video game finish. It looked like it looked sick, like so many punches in a row. But he's had a lot of momentum right now, and I really want to get behind him and think that he's going to be super good. But I always hesitate to jump on board of a bandwagon when someone hasn't faced like a good grappler yet.
So you don't know.
Like, I don't know. Can that guy his striking is definitely there, but can he stop takedowns from, the Colby Covington and Usman, those guys, Gilbert Burns, there's a few high level grapplers in that weight class. And
maybe, but you got to see it first.
Yeah. So until he goes against like a higher level grappler, I'd be a little hesitant. The fight that I would like to see is Ian Garry versus the guy who just beat Randy Brown, the Australian Jack. I forgot his last name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Australian, but they're both very similar, like great boxing. I would love to see that fight.
Yeah, it's good. Good matchmaker pick.
Yeah, but maybe the Jack might be a little higher ranked, but still, very, very exciting prospect. Then we had Brunson versus Du Plessis. What'd you think of that?
I don't know why. Like, I don't really know Derek Brunson, but I'm always like rooting for him.
Yeah.
And I was kind of bummed.
Derek Brunson always kind of like plays the spoiler. Like whenever there's like an up and comer guy, they'll be like, oh, he's ready for a big fight. And they give him Derek Brunson and he fucks him up. Like he did that with the Armenian, your boy. Edmund. Yeah. Edmund was like on an 8-fight win streak, finishing everyone, and then Brunson finished him in the first round.
Right, and you thought it was going that way.
It looked like that. I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous.
Fight. We knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah, he was just smashing the guy, but that guy, Du Plessis, was able to get off his back and get to his feet a couple times. He turned into his guard and had Brunson on his back. And he just kept going and going and going. Then he started picking him apart.
Doing that over time and not getting tired. It wears on the other person and just staying consistent and then patient and then.
Yeah, and he's definitely legit. He's beaten Darren Till and Brunson back to back. And he had, obviously good fights before that, but finished Darren Till and then finished Brunson. It's crazy, the South African fighter, and he. I think that if I was playing matchmaker, a next fight for him, I'd like to see him fight either Sean Strickland.
Oh yeah, that's
or right. Marvin Vettori.
Yep.
One of those two fights would be great.
Yeah, I think Sean Strickland.
Yeah, the only thing is Sean Strickland is ranked below Brunson. So not that it really matters. Strickland's famous now.
Well, it'll probably be one of those things where he'll take Brunson's spot, so he'll be
right.
like one, and then even if he's above
like 6 versus 7,
yeah, which is like the same thing. Yeah,
you're right. Same.
And
thing.
if he's fresh up, just moving up there, it's
I saw during fight week, Du Plessis said that he described himself as like the face of African MMA.
Oh, he's from South Africa.
Well, there's some pushback on that.
I guess you would say Francis.
Well, yeah, Francis. But he was saying even Francis, he says he trains in Vegas and...
lived in Paris.
Yeah, and Israel lives in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So he was like, I wake up to the African sun every day. I breathe African air. I train in Africa. He's like,
yeah.
And it just sounds funny coming from like a white guy, but...
Well, I mean, he's from.
But it's fun. It was funny to hear him say that, but he is definitely legit. Like he's really one fight away from probably a title shot.
Yeah, especially with he keeps getting finishes.
Yeah, like if he fights Marvin Vettori next and beats him, he's probably gonna get a title shot.
Yeah.
Or if he's not one fight, he's 2 fights away.
Yeah.
But he's definitely legit. Someone like Robert Whitaker, that would be probably a difficult fight for him.
That's a difficult fight for anyone.
For anyone, obviously.
Yeah.
But anybody else, I think
Robert Whitaker, you always forget about.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But even this Du Plessis, I could see him doing like matching up pretty good with even Pereira, because he has like definitely good grappling and his striking's pretty high level.
Right.
I think like Whitaker would be a hard fight for him.
Yeah.
But there's a way you could see him, at least fight for the belt.
Yeah,
which would be pretty cool. But yeah. So we have the main card. First fight, Bo Nickal and Pickett. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I give like Bo Nickal, it's pretty insane. I think it's just so insane that he only had 3 fights, and you can say, oh well, he's got so much experience with wrestling, but still. That was like one of the biggest cards, and he's like you could just tell he's a professional. Like he didn't seem phased or whatever. I mean, to be on a main card at, one of the biggest cards of the year for your like first UFC fight. Cause right. Cause
No, this is his first UFC fight.
Yeah. Cause the last one was Contender Series, your first fight. And like, people can say, oh, well, he's got so much experience with wrestling, competing, but it's different. It's a different sport and like different atmosphere. And he just seems like just a true competitor and so calm and collected. And you know what I mean? Going in there and like, I think some people are like, oh, well, what's he going to be like when he goes against someone at a higher level? Well, the higher level is like top 10. I mean, right? Or top 15. But like,
there's quite a,
I mean, it was his first UFC fight. That guy had a lot more experience. That was a pretty tough fight for your first fight.
Yeah.
And I think that people like, it seems like people are almost kind of like not hating on him, but they're like, oh, well, when his next fight's going to be hard. His next fight. Well, I mean, he's doing what he has to and he's going through it pretty quick. I mean, third fight, main card UFC, like against someone with a lot more experience and just kind of like seemed cool and collected and mopped right through him.
Yeah.
Style matchups are a big thing too, of course, but I mean,
I wonder
learning.
what they're going to do with him. Like, do they give him like a legit guy next, like a top 15 guy? I don't think so. I think they'll fight someone very similar to this last guy.
I think they'll do kind of like a Paddy Pimblett thing.
I think they'll end up bringing him a little faster than Paddy.
I mean, Paddy really only
because he'll start asking for it after maybe like 3 more fights.
Yeah,
2 or 3 more fights.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, he's only 27 too.
Yeah. The only thing, like, it's just so interesting because when you're that dominant, like, he hasn't been kicked yet. He hasn't been punched yet. He hasn't been, like, has faced literally zero adversity. He's never got, no one's ever stopped a takedown. No one's ever got off bottom.
Mm-hmm.
He's never faced 1 second of adversity. So, I mean, but I think Bo Nickal is what everyone thought Chimaev was in 2020. So Chimaev was the guy who was like, I'll fight every week and fight anyone. And he did that like 2 or 3 fights in a row, and everyone just totally jumped on board. Rightfully so. Chimaev is incredible, but I think Bo Nickal is really what Chimaev.
Yeah, Chimaev gets the advantage just because he kind of talks shit. He's got the bad guy. He's like,
and people just don't
theatric.
like, Americans.
Yeah.
Like they are more likely to get behind like a Russian.
Yeah.
But Bo Nickal, like if his grappling is far superior to Chimaev.
Yeah.
And Chimaev was like ragdolling people. I feel like Bo Nickal would do that to Chimaev.
Yeah.
But Chimaev is probably a bit more well-rounded with his striking. He had some like, good knockouts and stuff, but I think that Bo Nickal will fight like often and will be like a bit more consistent.
Yeah.
And kind of
focused.
It seems like it.
He's kind of like the modern day like Ronda Rousey, where you're just so dominant in that one thing, and then you're like, okay, well, but then maybe when he does, then he's gonna get to the point. I think he's gonna get through like a good portion of the division like that, and then it's gonna be like real quick, and then all of a sudden he's gonna be against someone like the top guys, where it's like, all right, can he hang? Can he do that or not? And you don't know until he. I mean, maybe he goes against the top guys and just does the same thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's just such a high level wrestler, but it's not just wrestling. He's a grappler now.
Yes.
Like he does submissions. He could control like mount. He could take the back. He's high level.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that kind of like set the tone for the main card. It was he finished
it like lived up to the expectation of the fight, and then you're like, all right, let's
go. And he finished the fight with the rear naked choke. And when we did our fight or our podcast leading up to that fight, everyone was like, choke? Oh, grappling. Oh no, he did an arm triangle.
Yeah,
arm triangle. But I kept thinking people were going to use their grappling, and 4 out of the 5 fights on the main card all ended in some type of strangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first one. Beautiful arm triangle. Then we had Gamrot and Turner. That fight was much closer than I thought.
For sure.
I thought that Gamrot was going to just kind of take him down kind of easily and, dominate him on the ground. And that wasn't the case. Turner is super big and really good.
He's so big. Because we were talking about Gamrot's last fight against Dariush. When we watched that fight, we were like, oh my God, he's so much bigger than Dariush. He's huge. And then when he fought Turner, he didn't look like he looked
No.
small. It's just so crazy how different people can be in different sizes in one division.
Yeah. But I mean, he definitely looked really good and beat a really good guy. But Turner, again, in a loss, like his stock kind of went up.
Right. Same
know.
as Blackshear.
Yeah, very, very similar. But Gamrot, his grappling is super good, super high level takedowns, and just very competitive. Like he knows, like I got to go get a takedown.
Yeah.
And went out and got one. Turner's gonna, he's still gonna have quite a bit of success. He's definitely fun to watch.
Right.
Then the fight of the night, the fighter I was most looking forward to watching was Rakhmonov versus Jeff Neal. What'd you think?
Oh, I was like, wait, what fight was that? So it was good. We were watching it.
Yeah, that was.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
I forgot. I like
such a
blanked
good
out for a
fight.
second. I was like, which fight was that? I was like, oh, it was my favorite fight of the night.
Yeah. And Rakhmonov, like we said, Bo Nickal hasn't really faced adversity. Rakhmonov hasn't faced too much adversity either. He's just kind of mowed through everyone.
That
But
probably
he
was-
ate some big
Yeah.
punches. He and Jeff Neal knocks a lot of people out.
Yeah.
But he was
almost got
rocked a couple
finished.
times.
Yeah.
But then once that third round, he like turned it on, like I'm gonna go get a finish, and
Yeah.
he went fucking off. Like knees, kicks, punches. Then
Once he
just-
started mixing it all up,
Yeah.
it was definitely better.
But he didn't get a takedown. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to take him down right away and finish him on the ground, but he couldn't take him down. Even
Yeah.
he finished the rear naked choke from standing.
Right. Yeah, we kept going into that fight. We kind of thought he was just going to take him down.
Yeah.
Take him down super easy.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe Neal's grappling defense is better than I thought. It must be because he has a win. I was looking at his record, and Neal has a win over Bilal Muhammad.
Right.
Who's
Right.
pretty much as high level grappling as you can get in that division. That's another guy in that division who's a good grappler.
Yeah.
But he takes everyone down, and he must not have been able to take Neal down because he lost. But
I feel like UFC is definitely in their grappling era right now.
right now it really feels
Every
like
division almost.
Yeah.
It definitely feels, which is like, we love training that, so it's fun to watch. I
Mhm.
wonder if that's for just a casual fan, what they think. I think they like it because there's the finishes and the ground and pound are added. It's not wrestling.
Oh, it's not wrestling at all.
yeah.
It's not people just lay and pray. People are getting fucking submitted, choked to sleep on the ground. People like to see that.
People are like getting, losing the fight and then coming back and getting that's always entertaining too.
Yeah.
Coming back, getting a submission. Because it seems like everyone's so good at grappling that it matches up great. Like creates more scrambles. And then, you'll see a fighter that you're like, they have knockout power and they're just getting like, all of a sudden someone takes him down, holds him down, beats him up, gets him tired. Then they stand up the next round and they're just like dead.
Right.
And you're like, wait, what? Like it's almost like the same as having knockout power.
It is.
And I think
Yeah.
like so many people have it now that when they get matched up together, it's interesting. Like the Blackshear and what's his name fight. They're both so good at grappling. So when they
Yeah.
go together, it just creates like scrambles. It's not boring.
Not at all. Yeah, it's not because like during like the Mark Coleman days, like the wrestlers or Josh Koscheck used to get
There's a lot
criticized
of
for that.
holding.
They would take him down and basically stay in the guard and like kind of pitter patter from the guard.
Yeah.
But now it's more like complete grappling, and you're seeing
High pace.
more submissions. Like maybe this card is just
But even
was
still. in
submission heavy, but I feel like you're seeing a bit more submissions than you have the last few years.
Yeah, it used to be the grappling was like someone that was a black belt world champion, and then they came in and they have crazy jujitsu. Now it's like everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so Rakhmonov, I mean, Neal, I think is ranked, he's got to be like, was he 7th or something?
Yeah, 8, 9.
So I wonder what they'll do with him. I think him and Chimaev would be fun, but I can't see that really happening.
I feel like Chimaev won't fight him.
Yeah, he won't fight him. Bilal Muhammad is always willing to fight anyone, but I feel like even him, he's kind of thinking he's going to get a
He's
title shot soon.
Yeah, he doesn't want to
Maybe-
risk that.
I would say the fight that kind of makes sense, and he's always down, is Gilbert Burns is always down, but I think they're teammates. I don't know. That's not to say that they wouldn't fight each other.
Yeah,
I don't know their relationship, but I would love to see Gilbert Burns and because Gilbert Burns is fighting Masvidal, which next week I'm sure he'll win pretty easily.
Yeah, the timing wise, that would be good too.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But I know they're teammates. They both train under Henry Hoof, so
Yeah,
maybe not. But
maybe not unless it's like for a title type of thing.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they should both train with them, but don't train together. You never know.
I wonder who Colby would rather fight, Chimaev or Rakhmonov. I think he'd rather fight Chimaev.
I think Chimaev because like Rakhmonov is still kind of like not a common name. So I think people will be like, oh, if I lose to him, it's like, oh, it bumps him up, but it doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a fan that watches it all the time. You understand how good he is. But
right.
I think Chimaev, because then he gets like the whole like, you know, it's a bigger fight because, you know, just the whole theatrics of the pre-fight.
So yeah, but he's gonna fight somebody big after
Colby
this.
hasn't fought in a while.
No, he has not. But if you beat like the 7th ranked guy, you're gonna fight someone just like Du Plessis beating Brunson. His next fight's gonna be big. Once you beat like a 7th, 8th ranked guy, then you're like, you know, like we said, a fight or two away from the title.
Then you're like a fight night main event.
Yeah.
And then you have a good performance, and then, you know, obviously a lot goes into it, like the timing of rest of the matchups in the division at the top, or you know what I mean, injuries, but you could easily kind of just have that fight. That's kind of like Grasso, she beat Vivian on a main event, and then the way the time worked out, it was like, oh, maybe she'll have one. She even said, she's like, oh, maybe one more fight and then I'll fight for the title. But there wasn't, at the time, there really wasn't anyone else that made sense for Valentina, and she needed a fight. So they're like, all right, Valentina and Grasso, she just had a good win on a main event, and then she got the title shot.
Yeah. Yeah, timing's everything. But yeah, so we'll get into that. Valentina and Grasso. How'd you think the fight went?
I thought Grasso looked amazing. I thought, and I said it, it's funny because I definitely didn't think she was gonna win. And when we talked about it on the last episode, I was like, yeah, but I always underestimate Grasso for some reason. I don't know why, I kind of have it in my head that she's like not strong and like kind of smaller. I don't know if it's just because she was at 115 and then she moved up, because I don't feel that way with like Amanda Ribas, who just moved up, and it's the same thing. But I don't know, I just kind of always had that feeling like, oh, she's good, but I think she's been improving a lot in the past like year. And I mean, she looked great. I know everyone was like saying like her boxing looked great, but it's tough to get your boxing off on Valentina because she's a counter striker, so she just waits there. So like just being like, oh, work your jab, get behind your jab, when they, you know, get them the punch, counter back, because Valentina is so disciplined and doesn't care. She'll wait and wait and wait, and you have to initiate, and then she counters so fast, so it's kind of hard to get your boxing off on Valentina. But I thought where she definitely had the most success, which I haven't seen anyone really do against Valentina, was when she went southpaw and just threw the long 1-2s. Yeah. Because Valentina she stays back, but Valentina was moving back like the whole time. She was like on the black line, which I was surprised. I was like, every time Alexa throws, she's like moving back. She never does that. She usually waits back, but then just waits to spring forward. But she was just like going back every time, and I've never really seen her do that. Even before Grasso was really landing hard strikes, I was like, why is she moving back so much? It's interesting. And then I think once she kind of like figured out, oh, I just gotta take her down, and then she realized like I can kind of take any shot, and I'm probably taking her down. Even there was a couple shots Valentina took where they were like, oh, that was a bad shot, but there's no repercussions of taking the bad shot. So I feel like she just kind of knows she could take any shots on Grasso and kind of get her down. But Grasso's good on the ground. I mean, but I feel like when Valentina took her down, she had success on the ground. She was doing well, even though she got submitted. That was kind of more of a mistake of, you know, throwing the spinning back kick, getting her back taken type of thing. But I find that like when I was like, Valentina kind of like, I feel like she has makes excuses when she has a trouble with like losing, and makes excuses whenever she loses. Like anytime she like, you know, when she fought Amanda Nunes, she was always kind of like, no, I won. And then like, even when she had like the close fight with Santos. She's like, nope, I won every round. I won. It's like, well, I know you won, but like, but whatever, you did win.
Yeah.
And then this fight, I feel like even her post-fight interview, I feel like I don't know if she's just trying to play it off, but I don't think she like was acknowledging like, no, you kind of were like, she was probably up on the scorecards at that point. But even if Alexa didn't get that submission in that round, it probably would have been 2-2 going in, and she was, you know what I mean? She was getting like tagged. It wasn't like Santos, where Santos just kind of like reversed the position,
Right.
got a takedown. Like Grasso was beating her in positions.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into, is how I scored it. Like the first round, I thought Grasso clearly was the better fighter, won the first round easily. Then what kept Valentina in the fight was takedowns.
Yes.
She was able to get like, double leg takedowns and get on top and stay on top the second and third round. The fourth round, she couldn't get a takedown, and it was on the feet, lots of exchanges, and Grasso was winning that fourth round. So even if that spinning kick doesn't happen and she doesn't get up his back, then it's 2-2. But the way I looked at it was, all Grasso has to do is not get taken down and she's going to win the fight.
Yeah.
But
I think a big part, like a shift. I mean, it wasn't a shift in the fight because I thought Grasso won the first round, but I think it wasn't just like, oh, she got through the first round. I think it was the second round when Valentina took her down, went for her classic crucifix position, which she's finished. I got finished there. Andrade, like she's solid in that position. When she got there, you're watching, you're like, oh, and she even chopped her arm, and you're like, oh, she's gonna get it. When I think at that moment where Grasso defended that, and then not only defended it, but didn't get finished, she got up to her feet. I think that was kind of like a confidence boost for Grasso and frustration for Valentina, because that's like everyone knows that's like she's solid at that, and it's like, okay, I saw your best move and
yeah,
I got out.
Now it's funny because I've seen a lot of comments and stuff about people saying how, well, they knew Valentina, this was the year she was going to lose her title. There's so many good up and comers
in that weight class.
But
they did that with Johanna too.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily that there's so many good up and comers that they're both like Santos just became so good and Grasso became so good. But like, you have to take into account, like, you cannot stay at the very top forever. Like, Valentina's probably not as good as she was 3 years ago. It's just the way it is. So it's not so much that Santos and Grasso are
can't
just
peak
like
for your whole career
so much. They got so much better, and now the gap, I'm sure they got better, but Valentina's not quite as good. She's a little older. She's been on top so long. I think that, she's a bit more vulnerable to a lot of different fighters. And it's not because they necessarily are that much better. Like, maybe peak Valentina in 2019 is probably winning that fight.
Right.
Like, people don't stay the best like into their well,
you can't think about just one fight in particular. It's so much goes into in your camp with peaking at the right time,
right?
Like, I've had fights where I think even like my last one, I was like 4 or 5 weeks out, and I was like, I feel so sharp, and I was like, wait, my fight's not for 5 more weeks. And I never really understood the whole peaking thing. And then I remember being like a little, now that I look back on it, I felt fine at the time, but I'm like 5 weeks out, I felt the sharpest I did the whole camp. Not that I felt like shit after, but I felt the sharpest. And I remember being like, did I is that what that is? Did I peak too early? Or maybe I just had a good week of training, but there's so much that goes into it, like peaking at the right time for the fight night. That's just like an 8-week thing. Now you're talking about Valentina, who's had like 9 title defenses, I think, since for the last 6 years. To peak on your career for 6 years, it's like impossible.
Right.
It's normal. Not taking anything away from Grasso. She had a great game plan, and I thought she did really, really good. But something that's interesting that we talk about, you started talking about this, and I never really, now I'm starting to understand it more, is the whole, you think that they shouldn't do immediate rematches for titles.
I think they should almost never do immediate rematches.
And at first, when you said that, I was like, I understand what you're saying, but because it sucks, but like, if the champ is so dominant, then they deserve it. But now I kind of agree, because now it's like you made it. I think the part that I really started to understand is what you said. So now you have to be a champion. You have to beat the champion twice.
Yeah, you have to beat the champion twice.
And it's like, wait, why? Like she should get that fight and then, get someone else. And that's how you mix it up. And it makes it harder to stay champ, because like, I mean, I understand she's so dominant for so long, but then if she's that dominant, have her fight one more. That's all. One more, and then boom, go right back. And
they each fight one more. She doesn't need to go
through the whole top 10 rankings.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, so basically, Alexa Grasso had that amazing upset, one of the biggest like upsets in women's MMA, and then, but it's like almost like,
well now you got to do it again.
You're halfway there. Got to do it again. It's like they should just say, to be the champ, you got to win twice.
Yeah, almost. But then there's one more layer to that, because then if there's an immediate rematch, and then you're doing the immediate rematch with in the back of your mind, like, well, the champion's better. She just had an off night. So then they have the immediate rematch, and let's say Valentina wins next time. Then you have to do another match.
That's a year.
So you just tied up the entire division for,
I think that makes sense. Like, I know they did that for the flyweight guys, but there was in a situation where the division isn't deep and doesn't have a lot of contenders that are ready. I think that makes sense. But in most divisions, like, now with that thing shaking up, you have like every girl, there's so many matchups you can make, know, I still want to see Santo and Valentina rematch. Like, if I don't know what Santos is saying, but if I'm her, I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I want to, well, now she's probably thinking I want to fight Grasso, but
I mean, they're definitely going to do the rematch.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, but like,
and then it really does put it into possibility that I think Grasso's just better.
Yeah.
At this point.
And you might have that effect where it's like, okay, she's got confidence, and a
3-round fight I would bet on Valentina, because I figured could get takedowns in 2 of the 3 rounds, but 5-round fight, you're not going to be able to wrestle that whole time, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think that Grasso is a little better striking.
Especially because her striking's good, so it's like she's getting tagged sometimes coming in for the shots.
Exactly.
But I thought that was great. I mean, I don't know, I just always think Alexa Grasso is so cute.
Yeah, it was definitely a great win. But it freezes up the very top of the division now for a little while. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of good fights in there. Exciting.
There's a lot of like if you're like, I would say if you're like Aaron Blanchfield, Santos, and Manon, you're like, oh, like,
yeah, because now sucks for them.
Because it sucks for them that haven't, like, well, I guess Santos already had the title shot, but was so close. Her fight was so close. I think it sucks for them because it's like, you're definitely going to have to take another fight before getting a title shot, which is, I'm sure all of them are fine with. But then it's like, now if Valentina wins and then they do a third one, you might have to take 2 more fights before you got to win. Now you're going to have to win 2 fights before you can,
exactly. But that's just part of the game.
But that's like the whole thing where for so long it was just like Valentina dominating, and I've always said, I'm like, they're like, oh, that in the like 3 years ago they were like, oh, this division sucks, and I was always saying, I'm like, it doesn't suck, it just takes time.
You just don't know their names.
It's a new division and it takes time to build it. I mean, look at like Aaron Blanchfield and Jessica Andrade headlined a fight, a card. I mean, Andrade is well known, but like no one knew who Aaron Blanchfield was 6 months ago.
Vivian and Araujo and Grasso.
Yeah, the Ribas fight was really, you know what I mean? It just takes time for fights to happen, and and now it's just like the same as one. Now I think that division's it just goes through waves. So you could argue maybe that division's like deeper or harder than the 135.
Right.
It just goes in waves and stuff, but
yeah,
it's exciting for the division.
Definitely. Then the main event, Jones and Gane. I hate saying this because whenever you say something like this, if you didn't bet, then you didn't really think that. But I just don't bet. But it went literally exactly how I thought it would go. Yeah. I figured he would take him down and submit him in the first round, or finish him with elbows on the ground in the first round.
Yeah.
But like, and obviously John Jones is the greatest of all time. No one's even close. It's not even debatable, I don't think. And before this fight, I thought that. But I think style wise, this was an easy fight for him. Like if he was fighting Curtis Blades, that's a harder matchup. Yeah. If he was fighting, I think Stipe, it's a harder matchup. Everyone thought like, cause Gane is, so like fluid on his feet and athletic, technical striking was going to be tricky for Jones, but he doesn't have the grappling to stop Jones' takedown. And he also doesn't have like the one punch knockout power like Francis does to, scare him away from like just going right at him.
Yeah. I think that's something that was kind of like people that don't really know when they hear heavyweights, they're like, well, there's always the threat of a knockout power, but he's not necessarily, it's not like
he's
Francis.
Like technical. Yeah. Or even like Derek Lewis.
Yes. Yeah.
Like Derek Lewis, like if he was fighting John Jones, there'd be a chance he could land an uppercut when he's shooting in like he did against Curtis Blades and put him right out.
Right.
And obviously Gane is definitely better than Derek Lewis, but to beat Jones, I think you'd have to be able to put him out.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that happening. Like I said, I think that if Jones like at the last second was like, oh, I'm not going to fight. And DC was commentating. They were like, DC, can you jump in and fight Gane? I think DC would have probably done the same thing as
It's
Jones.
funny you said that. And then Bilal Muhammad like tweeted the same exact thing.
Did he really?
Yeah. He tweeted something like, something about like, DC could take off his headset right now and do the same thing to Cyril Gane.
Really?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That. Yeah. I think, Jenny posted it on her thing.
No, that's exactly what I thought when I saw that. It's just style matchups.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to take away from Cyril Gane. It's just that level of grappling is very difficult to deal with. But I do think DC could have done the same thing that night. Like just all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But Jones, obviously, he just.
I like
amazing.
that he's like keeps saying over and over again how he wants to stay active, to be active, and I'm like, yes, because like I don't want to get like another, John Jones to like tease us. So he fights and then goes MIA for 3 years.
Right. Now, Stipe, once you're like 40 in your 40s, it does like make you like look, it's 40. But Stipe does have really good wrestling, scrambling ability.
Great boxing.
And his boxing is great. Like that to me is a much more intriguing matchup.
Yeah.
Granted, I think Jones will win, but
it more competitive.
Yeah. Especially if Stipe was, 36, like 5-6 years ago, then I would definitely almost favor Stipe. But I'm excited for that. I really hope that fight happens.
I hope it happens, and I hope it's like soon. Like, it's probably like they were saying June. Actually, I think Stipe already said it was like June or July.
Well, they said International Fight Week.
Yeah, it's June.
Yeah, is it June or July? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, one of those. Which is just good because I don't want it to. I'm like hyped on the John Jones train, and I'm glad that John Jones like finished. Part of me was like, oh, I hope he doesn't like play with him and let the fight keep going type of thing.
No,
like,
I'm glad he did that.
I'm glad he took him down and said, because when he was like mounting him like against the cage, I was like, oh, he could like just start playing with him, and I'm like, which is like I could see him doing that, but I was like, no, just get him and finish him right away.
Yeah, he's just so incredible, and it's funny because there's no equal to him. Like, there's no debate. I don't think. Like if you're comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James, a lot of people will say LeBron's better or this for this reason or that reason, or like Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
There's like debate.
They might say who's better, but John Jones, who can you compare him to?
Yeah. No one.
There's no one even close.
Yeah.
But
and like you said,
so
it's
impressive.
just fun when he fights too. It's just a big deal,
It feels like a really special event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems so cool because it seems like everyone, even still, like, it was like that for a while with Conor, and it definitely still is, but it's
different.
Yeah, he's another one of the top guys where, like, if they're on that card, it gets like a different feel for the fight. But John Jones is definitely like just special, and it's something that I think that you're like, oh, this probably won't happen again,
right?
And if it does, it'll be like it's.
Right.
Not for a long time.
Like on a Conor card, you're almost watching the spectacle.
Yes.
the build up, the way he looks, what he's wearing, how much he talks. But for Jones' fight, you're there to watch greatness.
Perfect example. If Conor fights, there's tons. You could tell by the difference of like celebrities in the crowd. If Conor fights, it's a lot of, you know, YouTubers, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a lot of like younger and like kind of zany type like celebrities. But like when John Jones is fighting, Tom Brady's there. Tom Brady's probably not going to a Conor McGregor fight.
Maybe not anymore. There was probably a time that he would, but
maybe. Yeah, I don't
You're
know.
right about that. It's more like
Tom Brady, David Goggins. They're there. They're not like, you know, it's just kind of, it's when John Jones, not that Conor's not good. I'm a huge fan of both of them.
Me too, but Conor, I feel like you're watching the spectacle.
More entertaining.
More
where
entertainment.
John Jones, it's more of like a greatness and like athletic ability.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, so
he's
really
also been
cool
around
that he's
for
back.
a long.
Yeah, it's funny when they show like John Jones like his resume, and it's all like these legendary fighters. You're like, oh my god, how did he fight all those good guys?
So young.
When you only fought title fights, he's fought like 15 title fights, or 14 title fights. Then you're only fighting former champions and number one contenders. That's your entire resume. He has more title defenses than Khabib has UFC fights.
Wow.
That is one of the craziest stats you could even imagine.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. And I also like Jones when he's had like some close fights with like Dominic Reyes and, you know, Santos. You almost feel like sometimes he just doesn't try his hardest. It sounds so crazy.
Yeah.
But when he really wants to go, like, he wanted to fuck DC up, and he fucked DC up, who's like the second best ever.
Like, you know, sometimes when fighters are like, oh, I wanted to work on, I didn't want to do like I feel like Amanda Nunes said that she's like, oh, I wanted to go all 5 rounds. And sometimes people, you're like, okay. But I feel like if John Jones does it, I'm like, I kind of believe him.
I do too.
Yeah. Maybe it's, you know, true or not, but for some reason I do believe him.
Yeah. But really great night of fights. Some interesting matchups that could be made afterwards, but really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too, the whole like Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm so bad with Gyllenhaal?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, him, I guess he was filming for a movie, and I know you probably saw it online, not like on TV, but he did like the whole like mock weigh-in, and they were filming for the movie. But it was funny because before the main card, we're like, oh my God, it was between the prelims and the main card, there was like a big break. And we're like, what the hell? Like, why are they doing so much promos? Because when you watch the fights, and especially the pay-per-view, they do so much promos, which is like the worst, especially when it gets like super late at night. But there was a big break. We're like, this is like a 30-minute break. What's going on? Why don't they just play like, you know, undercard fights or replay it? But they were doing the whole, you know, you could see it online he did the whole walkout and like a fake fight. Like they were filming it for a movie.
That's crazy because they have to do that on one take.
And it's crazy because if you watch you can find them online, like the clips of it. If you didn't know who he was and you watch it, you would just think it was like his walkout and his weigh-ins. It just looks real. It doesn't even look if you didn't know, you'd be like, oh, I never saw that guy fight before. Who is it? It's crazy. Like, I think when it's something like that, it made me appreciate acting and how much it is. Because I don't even think I do that for a living. If they were like, oh, we're going to do a fake one, just
act different.
Even if they were like, okay, you don't have to act up, just do what you normally do. I don't think I could do it.
Right.
Because then you're like thinking about it. Even, you know, when they did the square off, like Dana had to do it, and then John Anik like interviewed him like that. I was like, that's impressive. Like
Super.
Everyone when he did the fight, walked out, Cutman Tate had to like do I guess they're just like, oh, just do what you normally do. But knowing that it's not real, it's like,
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I think that was interesting. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. We'll have to watch that movie.
And then he did that. And then, like by the time the main card started, he's just sitting there watching. He's sitting next to Conor, just watching the fights. I'm like, what the heck? That is so crazy. How it's wild for production how they do it. Like in the middle of the biggest UFC card, like
crazy
fight card, they just film we're gonna quick film this movie. This is a fake one.
Wow.
How much like planning and production goes into just doing that?
Quite a bit, I'm sure.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's wild.
I'm just happy I got an oil change.
Yeah.
You can't do all that planning.
No,
It's too
it's a lot.
too many things. But yeah.
You got anything else, Zane?
Nah.
No?
Zane's got to go to the office and work
You gotta
tonight.
go to the office.
Long night at the office, bro. Really crunching down some numbers down there.
Coding, bro.
I don't even tell her I do that. I'm just like, I'm crunching numbers, Grandma. And she's like, okay. That's all I need to know.
That's crazy.
All right.
Yeah, that's our breakdown. Great card. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.